It seems like we're growing numb to just how scandalous the Trump administration is and has been. And so here's where I come in as a historian. I would like to list out for you the biggest presidential scandals in American history before the Trump presidency. Like, these are the ones that in the textbook it's going to be like, oh my gosh, it was one of the most scandalous things to ever happen and people couldn't believe it. Let me list them out for you just to give you some context for how insanely without precedent this administration is. Let's just go in chronological order. 1869, we have the Black Friday scandal. I'm not going to get into huge details on this because I hate explaining economic concepts, but basically, Grant's administration was regularly selling gold reserves to do something with gold prices and keep it all stable. I don't know. But anyway, Jay Gould and Fisk, I can't remember his first name, were Wall Street speculators. They had a lot of influence in the US government. This is during the era of the Gilded Age and corruption and all that kind of stuff. They made friends with Grant's brother-in-law and kind of got influence within his cabinet to be like, hey, don't sell the gold for a while, but don't tell anyone you're going to do that, yada, yada, yada. They made a lot of money off of the gold, but then Grant found out about it and was like, oh, hell no. And actually, sort of in an ill-advised attempt to fix the problem, he sold off millions of dollars worth of gold, which caused a whole market crash, which, wasn't great, but it was his attempt to undo the corruption that had been discovered in his administration. In the 1920s, we had Teapot Dome, which just sounds quaint now that we look at it from today's perspective. But basically, during Warren Harding's presidency, it was found that his Secretary of the Interior, Albert Fall, had been secretly making deals with oil companies, allowing them to drill on federal government land, like places that had oil reserves like Teapot Dome, Wyoming. Those oil reserves were supposed to be kept for the Navy for emergency use, but Albert Fall was like, there won't ever be a war again that will require our Navy, he said in the 1920s. And so he basically took bribes to let oil companies go and drill. He went to prison. He becomes the first cabinet member ever in American history to go to prison. So for context, that's over 150 years. That's 2 presidential scandals. There were others, of course. There's the impeachment of Johnson, which was more of political infighting. There's Jackson's spoil system. But I'm talking about clear legal wrongdoing, and both of them led to immediate consequences for the wrongdoer. Anyway, I'm gonna need more time. I'll do another video where I hop to the 1960s and talk about Nixon and all that other stuff.